What is up, everybody? My name is Richard Terrell. I go by Kirby Kid, and you are watching part 3 of the Footsies fighting game fundamentals. It's a lot easier to say when I put it on the screen. And this is the third part of a long series that we started to really dive deep into understanding from a design perspective and a competitive player's perspective what fighting games are, how they work, and how to enjoy them best. Enjoying fighting games best usually involves trying to get good at them. It usually involves some kind of competition. It usually involves change over time, growth, adaptation, something like that. So what better sort of scale to set yourself in than trying to be the best in the world? Most of the time people don't have time for that, patience for that. They don't know how. And that's why I thought this game Footsies was perfect. I've already explained all this in part 1, so if you are curious and you have questions, go back and check that. The link will be down in the description. But otherwise, Footsies is a black and white game that you can play for free on mobile or your PC, or you can pay $4 to pay for the nice smooth version. And I came up with this rough schedule here, right? So you download the game, and if you want to participate, this is what you do. You go to this link here, you start here where it says start here, you download the game, you play it, you take survey number 1, there's a link for it right here. Then you get good, or you try to get good. You put some time into it, because really, if you don't put time into playing this game like it's seriously your main focus or your fighting game of choice or the next cool video game you want to play, then it's not going to work. So yeah, you got to get good at it. The game has just a handful of attacks. It's one attack button in 2 directions. It's about as simple as it gets. So complexity wise, there's not a lot there, and it's a perfect opportunity for you to see how far you can take things. But otherwise, once you try to get good or you're already good, you take this Footsies survey, and then the next step was to study the Dynamap. You can also, here's the video for part 1. Look at that. I'm going to have to put another one up. So there's a lot in this Dynamap that we went over in the first video part. The strategy space is big and complex and has all these things to it. There's a tournament. I got 4th place on the first one, and I got 2nd place on the next one, and there'll be another one soon. So we'll keep tracking my progress as I iron out a lot of what I've labbed in actual competition. There's a bunch of concepts I want to illustrate. Maybe that'll be in part 4. If you're curious about the survey results, all the stats are now here. You zoom in and you can read and learn, and these are all the players that took the survey, so very much thanks to them. If you're curious to know more about us and our background, go to the About Us bubble here. And this is a link that will take you to a Dynamap of my Smash history. It's got all the games in it. And it's got all the major tournaments that I participated in on the outside. So many tournaments and my placings in those tournaments. It has all the projects on Smash that we started, including websites and shirts that we made and everything else. So if you're curious, that's there. If you want to know more about fighting games because you're completely new to all this, there's a kind of a 4-part video series. Here are the links to those. And there's Sports Friends, a fighting game we made, if you are curious on what kind of game I would make if I had a choice. So we're on part 3 of this video, and now I'll show you. After we study the Dynamap, there's a lot of data here to study. There's a lot to explore. We are on one of the final steps, which is to extract lessons. So we've talked a lot about what's happening here. I should do that. We talked a lot about what's happening here. We came up with a lot of ideas, a lot of interesting things to say. And you really want to know if any of this is true. So if you didn't participate, if you didn't play the game, if you didn't take the surveys, if you didn't dive in, you're probably wondering, like, how true is all this junk that I'm saying, right? Like, there's lots of charts, there's lots of statements made. If you want some of the takeaway statements, they're here. And each statement that starts at the top has supporting arguments and all the way down, right? Fighting game depth is increasingly situational, nuanced, precise optimization. So here's my reasoning for that, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of information to explore there, but let's say you didn't do all that and you're just watching this video out of the blue and you want to know if any of this makes sense, if any of this is true. So this is going to be one of my favorite videos because we're going to listen to fighting game players from other fighting games. And that is the sole purpose of today's video. So I got 70 different quotes here, and we're going to listen to the quotes, and I'm going to talk about how they apply to something that we've already covered. And that's why I'm going to take every single quote that we listen to, like this for example, and I'm going to place it somewhere on this diagram in the relevant conceptual area, right? But I'll go a little bit more over that when we get to some examples. So let's start with this one.
Box Fox Gauntlet, and you have to like play them pretty different from like an analog fox, only because they can do a lot of like really precise movements that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And those are like two of the best online doing it. So like I knew for a fact that like, you know, it was like playing next to a typewriter pretty much the whole time. That's what I heard like, or like a popcorn machine. But you know, once they sort of get tired of going back and forth with their fingers and alternating, they're gonna budge eventually. And against Tyler Swift, I just try to find that little opening, right? It's not always about like them waiting for them to like go into your bubble, shall I say? It's more it's more so like playing the tangent of where that's going to be, and then eventually they're going to be a little afraid because like, oh, there's a chance he might come towards me, and that's when you want to execute. So started this set really strong. Nearly had the FD game. I think I just got a little impatient, and then Dreamland went really well. And the last game, I just pretended he was Aklo, and you know the same thing as before, where you just don't want to budge, you don't want to be that guy insinuating, and so I found a good upside side of the shield, and then found eventually full Box Fox Gauntlet.
So, Hungry Box, one of the best Melee players of all time, talking about how he won a set in the latest Smash Bros. Summit. He talked a little bit about understanding his opponent's controller. He has a what they call a hitbox controller, which simulates all the things that you would find on a GameCube controller, but on a horizontal flat box where you can play with your fingers like that. So he developed a counter strategy because he knew this particular player's playstyle. So I put the quote over here as well. And he talked about having his bubble and then playing tangential to that bubble. So he has a control zone, a zone where he's safe and he sets up a lot of traps. And he realizes that they're not going to just go into that bubble and fall for your traps. The better the player, they fall for less of your traps. So he's going to play just at the edge of that. And he realized that there was this edge to the Footsies right here, like the bleeding edge of his control versus not control, and he had to kind of take it to that level and couldn't play completely safe. And that's why that one quote applies to those three areas. Hopefully you're getting a sense of what we're doing here and how it's going to work. Let's go to quote number 1.5. Yep.
Stay at a range.
So I need to do this in a way that actually shows up properly. How about this?
Where you feel comfortable, because the more comfortable you feel at that range, the more confident you are in the neutral, and you don't have to worry about like these situations where like a random dash or random jump, because you gave yourself so much space to think about that. Like, you know, this is your bubble, and people can't disrupt your bubble when you stay at a range where you feel comfortable, because you're going to be more confident. Stay at a range.
He's going to repeat that.
Comfortable, because the more comfortable you feel at that range, the more confident you are in the neutral, and you don't have to worry about like these situations where like a random dash or random jump, because you gave yourself so much space to think about that. Like, you know, this is your bubble, and people can't disrupt your bubble when you stay at a range where you feel comfortable, because you're going to be more confident. Stay at a range where you feel comfortable, because the more comfortable you feel at that range, the more confident you are in the neutral, and you don't have to worry about like these situations where like a random dash or random jump, because you gave yourself so much space to think about that. Like, you know, this is your bubble, and people can't disrupt your bubble when you stay at a range where you feel comfortable, because you're going to be more confident.
Cool. So he's really talking about the same kind of bubble concept that Hungry Box is talking about, but he's doing it and talking about it for a completely different game. So those are the two similarities that you can see in those two quotes. We're going to keep moving. Here's quote number 2.
Part of the PUF game plan. I will be interested to see though, because I feel like, okay, so this happens to Hungry Box.
It does.
He gets super uninteractive in the next game.
Yes.
He gets super uninteractive.
He's so uninteractive, he left the room.
All of a sudden.
He's so uninteractive.
I
don't
noticed
wanna make eye
Hungrybox's
contact with
plan
you.
generally is less more like it's less to adjust to you and more so to create another problem for you to solve. And like if you like, oh, I don't really know what you're doing, so I'm going to get way more in the air and make it harder for you to do the things that you did last time.
This is kind of why I think that Puff needs like an airtime limit. So
Part of the Puff game plan.
So Hungrybox lost the match. Goes and takes a break. Happens. But they're talking about when you normally watch Hungrybox lose a match, he switches from like a semi-aggressive style to a much more defensive turtling style. That's kind of what they're talking about. So I plot this into the adaptation level 2 zone, which is basically adaptation level 1 is where you kind of adjusting the timing or the individual aspects of a particular skill. Like, oh, didn't time that right. Oh, I need to mash harder. Oh, it's this many frames instead of that. Okay. Adaptation level 2 is where you are shifting entire branches of your strategy, for example. Like, let's say you're hanging out in this branch and you're like, it's not working. Well, let me switch over to these, right? And when they said that Hungrybox creates a different puzzle for the opponent to solve, that's a legit way to flex your superior breadth of strategy, right? You say, hey, you solved this, or you're good at countering this, how about this? And if they do that, you go, how about this? So I definitely want to put that quote in this adaptation level 2 layer. Quote 3.
I like how it's like they already know it's going to happen, and the game hasn't even finished yet. And you just already feel it in the air. Game 4 Leo is a force of nature. You can't really stop it. You kind of just have to deal with it the best you can. It's funny because I know Coney mentioned one statistic recently where if you're up 2-0 on MK Leo, he's statistically more likely to reverse 3-0 you than you are to win the set. And that's just an absolutely absurd statistic.
So cool. There's this concept of Game 4 Leo. Leo, one of the best Smash Ultimate player in the world right now. And if he's ever down in a set, let's say like sets first to 3 and he's down 2 games, he's about to be knocked out. They call this like Game 4 Leo or whatever, where once the set gets that long in matches, he starts to turn the tables and win, even if it looks like there's no possible chance for him to win. And my reasoning for this is really that Leo is the type of player that has such an extensive and well rehearsed strategy space for the entire game of Smash that eventually he's going to shift and shift and shift and shift until he finds something that works better than what's working now. And because he has all those possibilities, he will eventually find something. And if it takes him 0 matches, great. He can beat most players without too much of a problem. But for some of the best players, if it takes 2 out of the 3 matches for him to figure it out, he will get there. He's pretty much done it so many times in a row. That's why we call it Game 4 Leo. And that's my best explanation for what it is and how it's happening. Yeah, it's a type of adaptation that really does flex a broader sense of experience in a more precise strategy space.
Look at these nairs in particular. A lot of these landing nairs, because there's that hitbox on the landing with a nair, and it also combos into stuff if you let the move finish, or you end it early and people fall out. Because of that, Leo has so many like very slight differences in landing timings that will screw up your punishes. Or if you try and punish one very specific timing, if you try and then do that to punish one of his other slight differences in nair timings, then more often than not, you're going to get hit and then you get knocked into other stuff. So because of that, even though the frame data on nair is not that safe on shield, or even that close to it, if you do it perfectly, it's -9 on shield.
Frame data.
Otherwise, it's a -11.
We're gonna put
That's
frame data
not
stuff
crazy at all.
over here.
Like, look at these nairs. Like that first nair, like halfway through he fast fell. That one, he did the first one is, look at these nairs.
Cool. So nair, a good strategy, definitely. The strategy comes from a precise knowledge of the frame data that MK Leo knows. But then Fatality commented on how MKLeo has a ton of variations, even of using the same move over and over. Different variations for different purposes. That's really, it's going to go basically in... It's like the strategy spread, but it's more about having branches, we'll say. So there's risk reward, there's branches or breadth, branches, and then there's this concept of slight variation, right? We'll just do that for now. And that makes up, like, you know, the versatility of your strategy spread. So we're definitely going to put quote number 4 over there.
I like that setup. So here's why Tweak did that. That might look nonsensical at a glance, but let's look at what Leo was doing before the banana toss, okay? It'll all make sense, trust me. So he's in this shield situation, and Tweak, he throws that banana there because he doesn't want to get grabbed. The reason he does this platform drop through is because he's not confident that Leo is going to drop shield. Like, he was probably worried about getting shield grabbed, so he decided to just get out of there. And then if Leo tries to shield grab him, he'll already fall through the platform and can punish him with up smash. And then once he dropped through the platform, he's like, wait a second, he got hit by the banana. Now it's just a matter of reading where he's going to go. And he read that Leo is going to go to the side, because if Tweak up smashes right here, it covers him staying in place or rolling in, or rolling towards the ledge. Because he
there's somebody in the chat, which I will mention real quick. Brazilian person who doesn't understand any English would like to know if Footsie's rollback condition is worth investing for competitive play. There's a small community of players. The game is free on mobile. Jump in and see what we got. I think it's worth it. That's my answer. Cool. So back to the quote.
Leo would choose the better option on paper. He decided.
So I'll just go here.
Is because he's not confident that Leo is going to drop shield. Like, he was probably worried about getting shield grabbed, so he decided to just get out of there. And then if Leo tries to shield grab him, he'll already fall through the platform and can punish him with up smash. And then once he dropped through the platform, he's like, wait a second, he got hit by the banana. Now it's just a matter of reading where he's going to go. And he read that Leo was going to go to the side, because if Tweak up smashes right here, it covers him staying in place or rolling in, or rolling towards the ledge. Because he thought Leo would choose the better option on paper, he decided...
Cool. So Fatality outlines what he thinks the different players were thinking at different times. Fatality also, what does he do? He comments on strategies, right? He's probably thinking this, he's going to go for the safe strat. He's probably doing that. They're probably going to go for this and that. And that's what's really... His fatality? I need to just remove this Footsies thing off the screen, don't I? Cool. There we go. So yeah, he's trying to understand what's happening in the game by understanding the different branches, the different possibility spaces, and knowing the risk reward of those possibilities is what gives... I'll just put this here. Is what gives players the ability to make better and better decisions. That's important. He's recognizing that other people also have branches. We already did that one. Number 6.
Right there, unsafe, but does he get punished? No. See, Tweak wasn't sure which side he was on. Tweak wasn't sure which side, so Tweak did a jump Z-drop banana. That's faster than doing a, see, Diddy's Z-drop banana is actually faster. It's like frame 3 or 4 probably, than doing a banana throw at a shield. So that's why he went for that when he was at super close range.
Precise
get a combo,
knowledge.
down throw. Oh, down throw dash attack instead of down throw fair. I guess that's the best thing at 0, perhaps. He wants to get back to center over here. And it's probably gonna try to get banana. It's basically Diddy wants to get away, get a banana. That's the basic Diddy game plan. Get away, get a banana. You don't have to do it, but I mean, it's kind of like Peach versus Marth in Melee, where like Marth wants to fight up close, right? Or
Cool. So the game plan, besides having a very precise application of frame data, Muja King talks about an overall game plan for a whole character. So we can just say like, let's see, near player playstyle, I'm going to put character playstyle. So like all Diddies are going to be getting bananas and using them to make their character better. So we're definitely going to put this over here. And this is how top players think. So that's why the quotes are particularly important.
He wants to get back to center over here. And it's probably going to try to get banana. It's basically Diddy wants to get away, get a banana. That's the basic Diddy game plan. Get away, get a banana. You don't have to do it, but I mean,
okay.
It's kind of like Peach versus Marth in Melee, where like Marth wants to fight up close, right? Or space him out. Whereas Peach wants to get her item, and because when she has an item, she has the advantage. Just like when Diddy has an item, he has the advantage. It's kind of the same concept.
Cool. Now for quote number 8.
Aerial, you want to mix up the aerial and your normal playstyle, and you want to mix that with fast fall. If you do empty land fast fall, you only have 4 frames where you're not having lag. So if you do fast fall empty land, you only have 4 frames where you're not in lag. If you do any aerial, it's much more than 4 frames. Not to mention, when you hit somebody's shield in the air, both players are like frozen in place a bit. What I'm basically saying is fast fall grab is a valuable mix-up against people who like to shield. So if you're fighting somebody who likes to shield, you don't want to always do the same thing. You want to sometimes fast fall grab, sometimes fast fall shield, sometimes fast fall and then just do other mix-ups, sometimes jump, double jump away. And you can mix that up with your spacing aerials and your nairs that he usually does. So if you mix those things up, the opponent always has to guess which one you're going to do. So aerial, you want to mix up the aerial and your normal playstyle.
So he's talking about the power of mix-ups and not just changing things randomly, but having sort of a set of things that you're going to change and knowing how you're going to change it and changing it meaningfully, right? And the more ingredients you have in that little pot to stir around and mix up, the more powerful it can be. So definitely putting that quote here. Cool. Quote 9.
The buffer system, and he wasn't expecting Tweak to do that. Right there, Leia was going to shield grab ledge stands, but it's actually really hard to just so you know guys, it's really hard to shield grab ledge stands and also cover roll. If you don't have the reaction time of Wizrobe, then it's really hard to cover both, especially in this game. Wizzy can do it, but nobody else I've played can do that. So if you're trying to shield grab ledge stands, if someone's shielding at the ledge, just be careful.
So he talks about a specific counter technique. So the reason why it's hard is because you have to use reflexes. And he's also talking about a specific player named Wizzy who can do it really consistently. So that's something in his entire strategy space, that an extra note for that player that he has. So I added it under player playstyle.
So right there, Tweak was going to be like, try to catch the neutral get up or get up attack, but he didn't take the bait right away, and he didn't want to get mixed up, so he rolled back to center to be safe. But here's what happened here. Tweak put himself in Biof put himself in lag. Tweak just used his reaction time to realize, oh cool, I have a free hit. Had Leo theoretically just ledge jumped and didn't do the nair, Tweak's brain wouldn't have been like, oh, I see you missed the nair. Now I know I have a free hit. If Biof is just in the air jumping, on any given frame he could be doing an attack or a double jump or anything else. But the fact that nair missed, Tweak waited to see the move miss, then reacted, then you can get an easy punish. So that's the weakness of doing rising nair as opposed to regular rising jump.
Cool. Reactive counters, pretty straightforward there.
Ooh. MK Leo missed his waveland. That was a big mistake, but it didn't get punished.
What I liked here is Muja King not only recognizes that MK Leo was going for something specific, but that he missed it. And that may not occur to other players, commentators, whatever. Mewtwo King just happens to be MK Leo's coach, so he should have the best idea of what MK Leo is going for. So yeah, and him messing a waveland, it's interesting that people play trying to figure out what other people's intent is, like why they do things, and that helps them understand how they're messing up. So I'm going to put that as it's an application of understanding the branches and the things that people want to do in a situation to understand how they're messing up. So I'm going to put that over here, and we will skip on to the next one. Copy link address.
Right here, Tweak knew, hey, I know you're going to jump at me. You know what? I know you're going to jump, so I'm going to just call you out. That was a jump side B. He just wanted to get Leo off stage. He's like, you know, I know you're going to jump. I don't want to get mixed. I know you're scared because I have a banana in my hands.
Banana in my hand.
So I'm going to move around, see how you react. If you're going to jump, I'm going to call you out. Now you're off stage. And I could do my ledge trapping.
Yeah, so as a player, Mewtwo King again is breaking down, not just like, ooh, nice hit, ooh, nice back air, but this was the conditions that happened before this and after. This is what he was looking for. This is what he had to read in order to get that advantage, and this is why he's doing it for ledge trapping, right? So Mewtwo King, when he talks about what's happening in the match, you can really tell. Let me see what quote this is. Yeah, you can really tell that he has this really detailed internal mental picture going on. So I'm going to add this one to branches on the strategy space.
This up B is assuming that Bife is going to up B immediately after the up air. So here's the thing. So Leo does the... So I'll go back to show. So, you know, Bife does the planking a lot. So Bife does this, right, to try to grab him and kill him. And this to try to hit him. Now, here's the thing. Tweak is betting everything that Leo's going to re-grab the wedge right away. But the thing with Bife is you do not have to re-grab the wedge right away. I think it would have actually been better to dash to the wedge and charge down smash, and then when you release the A button when you see a change in movement. I personally think that most likely would have been better.
So, very good quote. It's really interesting. He's talking about a specific situation. He understands the branches going on here, and he's using that to evaluate risk reward. So I'm going to do this. Risk reward, so I'm going to put it a little bit, I'm going to put this branches one over here, like that, and risk reward right here. So he's saying, like, yeah, these different things could have happened. Leo didn't have to do this. Maybe you should have gone up and done this, and this is another branch part of the strategy. And that's how he's evaluating exactly what potentially could have happened in this situation. But the way he's describing it, he's like, he didn't know Leo was going to... retract his up B at that precise moment, so that was technically a read, right? So let me just go ahead and make sure I copy this down correctly. Cool, and we'll move on.
So Tweak is already committed to his landing bear. If Leo dashed away like 2 frames later or so, Tweak probably would have been able to react to the situation. But since he dashed away at this moment, Tweak still thinks Leo's at this moment, because there's a thing called human reaction time. It's like 12 or 13 frames. And then you add that to like the offline delay, which is like 6 or 7 frames. Basically, Leo dashed away at just the right moment to not only keep himself safe, but also barely be unreactable. As you can see through this back air that Tweak does, See how Tweak is doing this back air? Tweak's brain, because of human reaction time and input delay, Tweak's brain still thinks that Leo is standing here. That's when he pressed the button. But Leo was planning for, in case Tweak did an impatient option or an approach there, you just do dash away down tilt on autopilot or on reaction, but just do the dash away and then go for the punish on the land, because there's a high chance they'll have landing lag in front of you, because they're attacking the ghost of your past. This is the ghost of Leo's past, and this is the new Leo. Leo was planning for, in case Tweak do the dash away,
In case you
and
want
then
to
go for
see
the
it,
punish
I'll
on the
let
land,
you
because
see it.
there's a high chance they'll have landing lag in front of you, because they're attacking the ghost of your past. This is the ghost of Leo's past, and this is the new Leo.
So he's using precise knowledge of how human reaction times work and precise frame data knowledge in order to understand why a certain execution of a counterattack strategy was properly done and how hard it was, right? So if you're playing and your opponent is doing things that are very difficult and succeeding, you can kind of assume, you learn a lot about who they are, how much they practice, what they can do. But if they start messing up and you can see that they're trying to do hard things, you're like, interesting. This person doesn't have enough skill to do X, Y, Z, so maybe I should whatever, right? But understanding how people execute things down to precise button inputs and timing differences is important. Next one.
Trying to shield grab ledge stand. Tweak knows about it. So Tweak knows about the shield grab ledge stand, so he does a roll. But then Leo knows that jumping at Tweak makes him want to block an aerial, because Leo aerials a lot more than he grabs. Not to mention aerial combos into dash attack. So he goes for a grab. Now up throw, probably up B. Yep, up throw, up B, and people are going to miss DI there, because he is not expecting to get grabbed, so he's not going to DI, and the throw is fast, and most people are going to either miss DI or hold to the right, which allows the up B to happen, and then you could get the miss DI, and you hope that he doesn't DI this, maybe get a back air. Oh, but the back air didn't quite work out there. Trying to shield grab ledge stand. Tweak knows about it. So
he's describing this whole strategy situation, and he's saying that they got into the situation because one player knows that the other player knows something about which branch possibility that they're going down. So that's kind of like the whole, back and forth counters adaptation thing. But in this case, it's all within one branch. There's like a little branch of possibilities for ledge trapping, and they're playing around in those different branches, so it's different fingers, if you will. So I'm going to take this quote here. To King 15. I'm going to take this here. I'll let you listen again.
Tweak knows about the shield grab ledge stand, so he does a roll. But then Leo knows that jumping at Tweak makes him want to block an aerial, because Leo aerials a lot more than he grabs. Not to mention aerial combos into dash attack. So he goes for a grab. Now up throw, probably up B. Yep, up throw, up B, and people are going to miss DI there, because he is not expecting to get grabbed, so he's not going to DI, and the throw is fast, and most people are going to either miss DI or hold to the right, which allows the up B to happen, and then you could get the miss DI, and you hope that he doesn't DI this, maybe get a back air. Oh, but the back air didn't quite work out there. Trying to shield grab ledge stand. Tweak knows about it.
I'm going to add a bubble here for expectations. Just kind of keeping track of what your opponent's keeping track of. We'll just add 15 to that one as well. Move. There you go. Quote 16.
Whoa, this is so good. Look at this. Check this out, mix-up. Drop down, up B, B reverse, then double jump, and last time he did the nair to attack Tweak and catch the banana, but this time Tweak was far away, so he did this air dodge to evade the banana throw that was obviously coming, and then land here, and by the time you realize it, you still have time to shield. That was really good by Leo.
So again, exploring the different branches of the recovery and ledge trapping situation. So we're going to take that here, put that over there. Yeah. That's not the right one. Cool. And I'll let you see it.
Whoa, this is so good. Look at this. Check this out, mix-up. Drop down, up B. B reverse. Then double jump, and last time he did the nair to attack Tweak and catch the banana, but this time Tweak was far away, so he did this air dodge to evade the banana throw that was obviously coming, and then land here. And by the time you realize it, you still have time to shield. That was really good by Leo.
Cool. Next quote, 17. There we go.
Now, for more information, even if you see or predict it's coming, by positioning yourself at the tippy toe very edge, so what? Just by positioning yourself here, right here, just by positioning yourself to this location, you don't have to go for Trump. You could jump back to the left and do back air, and then like still grab the normal stand or whatever. You can still cover options from that position, and it's unreactable mix-ups. You still got unreactable mix-ups. So if you can either trump them if they don't press a button, or if they do press a button, you just do retreating back air into grab or whatever you want, and you can still cover them pressing a button immediately because you don't have to guess when they're going to press a button because the trump makes them press a button right away. This is assuming that both players are playing at the highest level of adaptation. So
Yeah, he said a lot there, but he's talking about a very precise strategy, something that kind of we'll put this as one of our first fringe, right? And he's saying like there's a lot of branches here, so you know it's right here. There are ways to optimize those, and they are unreactable if you do them properly, and they allow you to do maximum amount of coverage on reaction. So he's talking about expectations, how your opponent has to anticipate in order to stop certain options in this branch, but you are still in a position to reactively punish. So I should probably put these down here. That's cool. Let me see if I can more easily make this big for you. So I'll do this. That should help.
There probably is a threat from Leo's down tilt, but at this point, I think getting off the ledge pretty much what's always happened on the other side. Same thing happened where Leo covered the jump with the forward air, and then punished the roll with up tilt. So it looks like the exact same thing is happening. I think it could be a little bit of tilt from Tweak, and I'll have to go back and rewatch the previous 4 games, see if Leo had a good option to counter when Tweak was sitting on the ledge. He does have the ledge trump option, but that's only viable from a certain range. So I wonder, yeah, I guess potentially Tweak is worried about that. He's worried about getting spiked. That ledge trump into reverse up B. Well, yeah, there we go. That's it. That's the thing. Oh man, yeah, that's rough. That is rough. Yeah, because that's the thing. You just can't sit on the ledge either. Man, and that's the thing about Violet. This advantage state is just brutal.
Yeah. So, another person analyzing the same match, pretty much in the same situation, and observing that this is a really strong position for Byleth, and it's because they have all these options and branches or whatever, and it's because it threatens these things that the opponent can't quite deal with. So this is, what, 17.2? Yeah. And a whole different person, same basic read on it, same situation. Quote 18, let's listen to the first one.
There's nothing truly safe if Leo makes the read. This is a read. So if Tweak waits on the ledge too long, Byleth has the opportunity to angle it down after a certain number of frames of invincibility. So Byleth can angle it down to hit you waiting on the ledge. Then if you do any of the other options, like stand up, roll, or get up attack, you just die from F smash on the release charge when you react to the change in any movement. And if you jump, This covers a few different timings of jump with a lingering hitbox. So there's nothing 100% safe. Nothing is 100% safe.
Yep. So that says two things, right? One, he understands all the branching possibilities. Two, he understands which parts are reads and then which parts are reactions. But in this case, you have to read a little bit. But it also plays into this sort of fighting game core of like, if they have a beat on you, if they can predict what you're gonna do, you're gonna die, right? Nothing is 100% safe. You're always, there's frequently, or you could say always, playing on the edge of being countered or countering your opponent. So I'm gonna put that under sort of I'm just gonna put that under mix-ups too. And by mix-ups, I'm gonna extend this to fighting game core, double blind core. Shrink this a little. It's a little further out there under mix-ups, and move this over here. All right, quote number 19.
Oh, got the banana. Oh. Oh, wait, why is he F smashing? I think that might have been a instant dash attack attempts. Oh, this is, dude, if I'm Leo, I'm gonna start punishing Tweak's air dodges. Leo keeps, look.
So, very interesting situation there. We see a mistake from Tweak, and Mewtwo King uses his superior knowledge of inputs, with precise knowledge of how inputs work, to realize that the likely mistake that you'll make from trying to do something else is a forward smash. So he sees this. Let me see. Hopefully it's big enough for you guys. Get out of here. He sees this.
Oh, got the banana. Oh. Oh, wait, why is he F smashing? I think that might have been a instant dash attack attempts.
See, so like he sees something very differently from a mistake than other players, and to kind of prove that point, I will show you this reaction.
The way that banana, was sort of turned against him here, threw it.
Same exact game, by the way.
Pushes him to the banana with a dash attack, and I wonder to what extent he knew, or whether or not he was just simply going for the dash attack and just didn't time it properly on the landing. Okay. And I love that, like, immediately after the whiff, Leo throws out that nair here, looking for the tech chase, but immediately dash shields up, immediately steals a little bit of stage. Before Tweak was ready, it looks like, because Tweak went for this little turnaround here. Great parry. Okay, and this is, I'm going to be honest, when I was watching this live, this was the first sign of potential desperation from Tweak, because that's a pretty uncharacteristic forward smash.
So, it's true. It is an uncharacteristic forward smash because it was a mistake, according to Mewtwo King. According to this other person, it meant that Tweak was on tilt, or he was starting to break and lose his nerve. It's really interesting how you can take the same exact gameplay and interpret two things. And as humans, I think we're always sort of prone to... We're always prone to interpreting things emotionally and trying to interpret it through the lens of other human experiences. But what's cool about having a strategy space, especially a technical knowledge like Mewtwo King is that when you see things, sure, you can assume that they're on tilt, but what does that mean, right? Eventually, knowing your opponent's emotional state isn't going to win you tournaments. The thing that's going to win you tournaments is knowing what buttons they're going to press because their emotional state, and Mewtwo King likes to focus almost entirely on the buttons. So he'll say like, did he expect to do that? What could be going on with his fingers? Okay. I think I know what he's going for. And they both could be wrong, right? Mewtwo King's probably right in this case, but the point is you got to use your net leverage. You got to leverage your strategy, and that can tell you many things about what players do, but also what they can't do or what they were trying to do. We'll try this one. Quote number 20.
That's not going to work. Tweak does the empty land shield a lot. You love that spike?
Oh, I thought he was dead there again.
Empty lands, shield. I think Tweak was looking for an opportunity to see if he could punish him for being impatient for the jump. And he was just doing slow fall just in case Tweak, like, if Leo jumped up here, if like a fair and missed, Tweak could fair him. So I think that's why he was slow falling here. But then he was like, you know what? Fast fall shield. Grab? That's...
So it's very interesting, right? I'm going to take this as 20. Again, Mewtwo King's interpreting what he sees and trying to figure out what kind of strategy the opponent, what could they be thinking based on strategies. Let me just do this real quick, and then I need to get this guy's name. Let me just do this real quick. Comes from Ultimate Pro Tips.
Hey, what?
We can go to about overlay. Overlay. That's cool. Copy that. I didn't want to get his name wrong, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that now. That was right here. So now we have a quote from Mewtwo King about precise. It's less so precise knowledge, and this time it's he's looking at the way Diddy is moving, and he's thinking, okay, this is probably what he was looking for. He's in a certain mind state because this strategy requires you to be in a certain mind state, and he really understands the branching. Well, it's not that he understands the branches in this case, but he's recognizing. Well, he does. Because he said if Leo forwarded, Diddy would have forwarded him back, but if not, he's gonna observe like this, and then he reacts to situations and plays defensively. Cool. So we're gonna see the same situation and see what Overlay thinks about it.
Ledge? Yeah. Lucky of Tweak not to get gimped there. Yeah, this coverage here. See? Okay, so this is some really good advantage state here. Leo jumps up, knocks him here. Now, at this point, Leo wants to force sort of a high-low situation. So Leo immediately is going to go to the ground and go in. He wants to basically cover the possibility of Tweak going high while also being in an optimal position to punish Tweak if he goes low. That's why you see this immediate fastball here, to force the high-low situation. Once again, we're going to see that in every single top-level set because that's just like, that's how you do it here. Where now, Tweak has to contest with a possible runoff forward air, but Leo's also in a position to double jump up air if he goes high. So yep, as you can see, goes high, Leo jumps back. Yep, starts charging up a forward smash, maybe a little preemptive, given that Tweak can air dodge the platform here. Wow, Tweak just said you're not going to time that properly, and he just fell into it, held shield. Okay, so Tweak led.
So very different interpretation, right? Different players focusing on different details. He's not thinking. He didn't really realize or interpret Tweak's lack of fastfall as a particular setup. I don't even think he noticed the lack of fastfall. Almost everything they do in this game is quick and precise and fastfall-y, but in this particular case, Diddy did a slow fall, and that's what gave Mewtwo King the idea this is what he was going for. And it's crazy. The tiniest little detail like triggered a whole branching strategy possibility in Mewtwo King's brain, but Overlay was looking at it in a different kind of way, so he's just like, oh, he's preemptively charging a forward smash, and he just said just not going to time it right. Probably not what happened. All those events happened pretty quickly, and reacting to the forward smash and then landing and shielding is probably what Tweak did, because he was looking for a counter hit setup in the first place, so he was really watching what Leo was doing. But it's just interesting, right? Same situation, different interpretations. And this is 20, if I'm not mistaken. Cool. So we'll do this, 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 and we'll say Overlay. Cool. So not as many branches, not as precise. He's going with the more human aspect. He's interpreting their moves as having general strategies. Mewtwo King's like, he could do this and that with his up B, he can go high-low, he can charge his barrels this, and then Overlay's like, they're going to set up a high-low situation and potentially go for an edge guard, and Mewtwo King's is much more precise, but either way, they're both recognizing situations and interpreting what they see based on potential attacking patterns. So I'm going to put that one over there. 21. Dude.
He just doesn't have.
I want to see how that interacted.
He just doesn't have.
I want to see how that interacted. I really want to see if this is safe or not. I want to see this. Oh my god. This is safe. It's really that safe? This is like the best thing Diddy could have done. He might have been like 1 frame late. This is actually the 2nd frame of shield, by the way. Dude, this is so safe. You have to be like, you have to be absolutely perfect you have to be perfect to punish Bive Snare. If you're not perfect, you don't punish it.
Okay. So zooming in really close to look at the precise interactions of these moves. So we're gonna here we're gonna do this. So when they start talking about frames and frame perfect stuff, I'm just gonna chuck it down here. And then we're gonna listen to what other people have to say about the very same tech. Let's go here.
Right now, I think Tweak just doesn't feel confident in going for it. That's that forward air being safe on shield. The forward air is -7. So unfortunately, that banana throw, which is also frame 7, has to be frame perfect in order for him to get that punish. Right now, I think Tweak
I thought that was very interesting how, even though they're 2 different moves, knowing the frame data allows them to know how hard something is to do, which is punishing these moves, and they both commented on how you have to be frame perfect to punish Byleth out of these specific situations. I thought that was pretty cool. But let's go with this final one. Let's see what we have to. And notice how they're using frame data. They're using frame data to confirm possibilities, right? Like, is this hard? Is it impossible? Is it even worth going for? That kind of stuff, right? And the numbers are always so small. Like, Diddy's jump squat is 3, then Z drop banana is active on frame 1, so that's a 4 frame counter response. And just knowing that puts everything else into a faster or slower kind of comparison.
Like, this nair that he does is unsafe. He lands in front of it. Like, that's so unsafe, and Tweak just jumps away. Like, I feel like Tweak was hesitating on a lot of punishes because he didn't know or look up Violet's frame data.
So ESAM interprets Byleth's super abuse, MKLeo's abuse of Nair, as Tweak not knowing the frame data on it, right? And that's what makes him hesitant. However, Media King slowed down the footage, counted frames, overlay day in another scene, opens up a website, looks at the frame data, and in this case, Byleth's Nair is pretty freaking safe. So I don't think ESAM knows how safe it is, but what is interesting is in the match, if Diddy has a 4 frame response and tries it and it doesn't work, then whether it's 100% safe or just on the cusp, it's too risky to go for it, right? And a player like Tweak will just be like, okay, move on to the next thing and the next thing. And sometimes even having the precise data can, I mean, it can tell you the answers quickly, but sometimes you don't need it. Everything's about comparison. If my move is fast and he blocked it, then anything slower is not going to work, and you don't need to know the exact numbers of everything else. I just thought that was interesting here that all 3 of them were talking about. Oops. Frame data. Cool. Quote number 22. Copy link. So we're gonna watch 20 seconds of this. Byleth is so offensive. Does that mean uses differences in their damage and wants to hinder Diddy. In the past, Leo would often use his movement abilities to bait opponents and attack him. Well, he's still doing it, I guess. I think he tries to show how offensive Byleth is, but will pull back at the right moment to whiff punish. Somehow I feel like this is what he aims for. Just like in this scene, until now, he was so offensive, but here he pulls back and whiff punishes Diddy Kong. So that's a player named Proto Banham, a really strong player from Japan, looking at the same match and trying to interpret like what's going on and what's happening. And he notices that more so than a lot of his Japanese fellow Japanese players, Leo's playing Byleth much more offensively and aggressively. And at first he was like, oh, he's not holding back, he's not playing defensively, he's not like taking his time. But then he realized in very subtle ways he's doing those reactive counters, those whiff punishes and things, integrated into its full-on aggressive movement and playstyle. And he's using really subtle movement differentiations in order to pull that off. It's really sharp of Proto Banham's eyes to see something like that and to say something like that. So Proto Banham. Right, like some people might just look at a match like that and say like, they're just going all in. They're just going all in all the time. And then there's more to it. These are the best players in the world, so there better be more to it. This is the next quote. It's 23. It just says, Leo makes Byleth, I'll just read it. Leo makes Byleth good. It's that once he hits Diddy Kong, of course, he overall plays really well, but he lacks some details in small things. So he's saying here that what Leo's doing isn't perfect, right? And there may be some more optimal ways to do X, Y, and Z, but he's still a great player, and he's especially good at keeping his turn after he manages to hit Diddy Kong. So press his advantage and keep the momentum going. That's basically what he's talking about. So I thought it was interesting. A lot of people might think that fighting games, I guess, are about just forever optimizing these little strategies and running them and being as safe as possible. But, you know, the core aspect of fighting games, how it's always based on some kind of double-blind interaction. It's usually based on some kind of chord triangle. It kind of makes it to where you can't just go out and out and out and hang out on the fringe strategies. That sometimes you either have to shift or pull back in to make things work. And if you find an area in the vast branches of things that you and your opponent can speak clearly, like doing these things, you don't have to necessarily shift and do anything else for the entire match. So sometimes moves that work on some opponents will only work on those opponents. And sometimes you can make all kinds of mistakes that would be punished either in another match, another day, another opponent, another character. But if they work now, they work now. And I'm just going to chalk that up to core fighting game. Where did I put that? Double blind core. And I don't have a timestamp for that, so I'm just going to copy image. Put that right here. Copy image. Cool. That's good enough for me. Quote number 24. Overseas players fight it out. Overseas players fight it out so much they don't pull back at all. So he's saying like Western players or non-Japanese players like to go aggressive. They really don't. Like we really do like to be aggressive. They don't wait to see, rather they do it while fighting it out. It's a very sort of astute observation, kind of like what I was saying before. They're testing and whiff punishing and, let's see, Footsies. Yeah, they're testing and whiff punishing as they're doing the most aggressive things that they can. And the Japanese players may pull back and look a little bit more defensive, but ultimately the name of the game is get KOs on your opponent and hit them before they hit you, or not to die, or whatever, however you want to interpret that. So he's just recognizing that there's two ways to do it, and even though they don't look like they're playing, they're not waiting to see and they're not testing out the situations, they still are. So I'm going to do this. That was loud. I'm just going to put this over here. Cool. The next quote from Proto-Banham: in the past, Leo would often use his movement abilities to bait his opponents and attack. Well, he's still doing it, I guess. I think he tries to show how offensive he is, but will pull back at the right moment to whiff punish. That's the thing we talked about before. We have the quote there, so I'm just going to grab these two. Do that, kill that, and put this over here. There you go. This is only my prediction, but I think Leo must be quite fast at adapting matchups. He must be thinking something like, if he does this, I will do that, and he tries to be even more consistent and riskless. Very, very astute, Proto-Banham, but essentially he's saying Leo has a strategy space. Stop that. Leo has a strategy space in his head, and when he adapts to opponents, he's not so much trying to figure out who they are or what kind of play style they like and why they make decisions. He's really sticking to the game strategies, and he has all these strategies worked out. It's kind of like we were demonstrating here. If you're good at this and you see that your opponent is doing something to beat it, you like quickly do different branches and move over here. And that's essentially how I interpreted Leo's game 4 Leo, why he can come back so effectively. It's these branches. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this quote over here. Here. And I'm going to also throw it under risk reward. So yeah, because that's how he's evaluating what to do. That's why you get to fight Leo. First, you need a counter plan that Nair, or it can be quite bothersome. Tweak is so troubled by the Nair. He doesn't get to decide with what he counterattacks with, which leads him to be defensive compared to before. So Nair is so dominant in this match he's observing that you need a counter plan for it. He's using it so much and it's so good, you have to have a plan for it. Otherwise, you're going to be reacting and falling behind the entire match. Oops. What was I doing? So where would a counter plan? I mean, the fact that you have to learn everything that you learn ahead of time. I have this floating one up here. Is part of it, so that could go under here. Then I can do this over here. I can put it under forming a counter plan is not necessarily branches, it's just this aspect of people can make these interplay barriers for you. People can find strategies or whatever that really prevent you from playing the game until you find a way to counter it, and then the game opens back up. So I'm going to just chuck that under... What did I call it over here? Knowledge checks or strategy limit. That's fine. So if you don't have a counter plan, you're dead. And I'm just going to drop this over here. Then I'm going to take that one about adaptation and drop this over here. And he said he adapts on level 2. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this. Quote 27.
fucking close. He did it! That's it! Let's go, Tweak!
Just
wait, we
like
gotta get a
that.
count. Tweak!
Look at Leo's face.
How many times, fellas, did he
Look at Tweak. Look at Tweak's
fucking
face.
close.
So like Tweak, big sigh of relief. He looks slight smile. He's happy with himself. Cool. And then Leo just does this like head nod, like, oh well. Like winning and losing in general to Leo. He doesn't worry so much about losing, and he has a really calm personality. But for this one in particular, which here's the head nod, I found that interesting. So I'm gonna put this under learning. I'm just gonna do this, copy. It's really more about having a good attitude about winning and losing and what competition means in the first place. And Leo has expressed that he has a good attitude multiple times. This is just a video that kind of reminds us of what's going on in his head. So here's where the Leo quotes come in, 28. So here's what explains what you just saw.
Into this tournament.
Well, when I was
How are you feeling? What was your energy coming into this tournament?
Well, when I start from the beginning, when I went to Summit, I was like really pressured because it was the very first big tournament in the US that I was attending to. I know I had SWT, but to be honest, I was just playing like against Mexican people, and I know them pretty well. Like even though they were like Meister and Espargo, I was like really confident against them. But since I've been watching Tweak's Diddy Kong, and I was like, this guy is like really good, right? It was giving me like Smash 4 like flashbacks. I was like, no, this can't be happening. Like I was really stressed out and really pressured because like I didn't want the same story to repeat again. Like I didn't want to lose to Diddy Kong over and over again. So like my head was just like, don't lose, don't lose, don't lose, and like I just lost, right? I mean, he played really well. I still think he's like an amazing. How are you?
I love that. So going into that tournament, MK Leo is normally a calm person. He normally goes into grand finals and stuff with his attitude like I got nothing to lose, and it keeps him very loose and playing well. But in this particular case, he kind of had Diddy PTSD, or what you might call PTS Diddy. And he was overthinking about losing. He didn't want to lose, but that's not his normal way of playing. That's not how he brings the best out of himself, and he lost. So even in the interview, he's like, I was thinking, don't lose, don't lose, don't lose. And I lost. And like that says so much about mindset. It says so much about the littlest things can throw off your game and how sort of holistic we approach performing well in fighting games. You can't just ignore what you're thinking. You can't ignore your health. You can't ignore environment. And so we develop these best practices knowing all of that. So here's another one.
Coming up to this tournament, I started watching sets.
So he lost to the Diddy in that tournament. Here's another big tournament. He just beat Tweak. We saw a lot of those clips from before. Same match, and this is him talking about it.
Like, I started practicing ballet for a specific matchup because Paramithra doesn't go that well. I know he practices with Cosmos a lot. And Joker, I mean, it's a surprise. I haven't done anything. I haven't practiced Joker, but he will be back.
Yeah, you went Byleth, I think, for pretty much the entirety of this tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
Coming up to this tournament, I started watching sets. Like, I started practicing ballet for a specific matchup because Paramithra doesn't go that well. I know he practices with Cosmos a lot. And Joker, I mean, it's a surprise. I haven't done anything. I haven't practiced Joker, but he will be back.
Yeah, you went Byleth, I think, for pretty much the entire...
So it's cool there. He did something he normally didn't do in order to prepare for this tournament. And it turns out it made a big difference. That speaks a lot to how we learn, how we train, how we think, and I want to just point out a couple of the things here. What he started doing was, we'll listen again.
Entirety of this tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
Up to this tournament, I started watching sets. Like, I started practicing ballet for a specific matchup because Paramithra doesn't...
So he watched sets of his opponent, and he started learning specific counters and picking the correct character to fight against Diddy. So out of the many things we talked about, what people do to excel, especially in the survey number 2, I asked people, have you ever taken notes? Have you ever talked about strategies? Have you ever taught someone how to play? Have you ever labbed in training mode? So on and so forth, like these really important questions, right? And one of them is like, do you watch other stronger players play? Do you ever watch your own matches? So it sounds like Leo, still like one of the best players in the world, obviously like top. When he found that he needed to learn something, when he needed to improve, he has to do the same thing everybody else does to improve. And maybe you can coast when you're that much better than everyone by not doing some of these, but you definitely did these things to get there. And he found himself in a situation where he needed to take that next step. So what did he do? He went back to all the same things that you have to do and I have to do to get better. And there's really no getting around it. The best player in the world can't get around it. We can't get around it. I think that's a point that I want to drive home very, very clearly. He started a better learning, best learning practices. And we're just going to plop this quote, this matchup thing, quote 29. Oh, this is MK Leo. Haven't been keeping very on track of this. Hopefully I can correct it over time. Cool. So MK Leo's practices need to be down here as well. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Cool. So let's hear what somebody else and how somebody else interprets
like,
that.
He's air-to-airing correctly. He's using Tweak's banana against him correctly. Like, no, he's playing textbook anti-Diddy. Like, this is like Smash 4 how to fight against Diddy levels of good. And of course, Leo's really good at that.
Yeah.
Like, he's.
I love it how everyone likes to add that little thing. I mean, it's fun, but like, oh yeah, and I lost, but of course my opponent's really good. Or look, he's doing all this great stuff, and he's just good anyway. So like, But for a moment, let's just stop adding that little caveat to the end of our sentences. Because we're better than that. No, I'm just kidding. And let's pretend like your skill really is the direct result of the very specific kind of work that you put in. So Leo wasn't very good at this matchup. Let's just say he lost really badly to Tweak's Diddy. So it didn't matter if he's really good in general. If you don't have a plan for it, if you're playing the wrong matchup, if they have your number, you lose. When you do the things to develop the skills to have options or to turn the tides in terms of a matchup advantage, you can expect to win. Oh, this is 29.5. So it's not that he's really good and then he adds this little trick on top, this little sprinkle of extra goodness. He's not good enough, and he does the things to make him good enough by adding to his overall skill set. But yeah, like, you still need those specific pieces of knowledge. You still need that specific training in order to even incorporate that into everything, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make here. MK Leo did best practice learning things, which we'll talk about later, but it's funny how Eastham recognized it so clearly. It's not that he beat Tweak down just doing random Bila stuff. He is playing, quote-unquote, textbook anti-Diddy, and that's really important to point out. Cool. Well, this is going a little longer than I thought, so I'm going to just... how long have we been going? About an hour. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap it up here. We're going to keep going through all the quotes. I mean, honestly, it took me hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to find these things. And it's taking hours just to play them for you and put them on the chart. But I hope you're enjoying it. I love hearing from other players. I love it because we can grab quotes and they're really speaking the same language that we're speaking here. The same words, too. Right, even with Proto-Banham and it's Japanese and the language translation, blah, 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 we're all speaking the same language. And it's how to learn, it's how fighting games work, it's how how do we develop the skills necessary in order to play better and better and have more fun at this game. So that's 29 quotes, a little bit more than 29 quotes, but we're at quote number 30. We'll pick it up on the next stream. And until then, guys, if you want to find out more about what we are, what we do, who I am, whatever, you can go to our website. That's designoriented.net. You can talk to us on our Discord channel. We hang out there all the time. We voice chat all the time. And a lot of times I'm doing this research in public, like in the voice chat. So you can ask questions, chip in, ask for pointers, whatever. There's so much to do with the community that's focused on learning game design and having such amazing tools to do it. So if you're interested in any of that, jump in, join us. Otherwise, I'm at KirbyKid on Twitter, and I will see you guys next time.